So I want to do this next video while the light is still good in my office space and while I'm not boiling from being overheated on another very hot day. It's 90 degrees where I am in Philadelphia, but we're a little bit overcast. It's not too bad. So the next word, I need to close that because you don't need to see that. What does the phrase overgiving mean? Many years ago, as personal development was coming along and as psychotherapy was coming along and as women were stepping up into their own independence and power, the phrase doormat came up. So lots of women who were had certain roles in their families and in their own primary families and in the families that they then generated for themselves through marriage, you could be identified as a doormat. And again, a doormat would be someone who put other people's needs before their own. Another word that came out during slightly later, a few years later, about 10 years later, that came out in the world of psychotherapy and self-development was the word codependent. And so when I'm going to talk to you now about the phrase overgiving, doormats and codependents and empaths, and you don't have to be a woman to fall into this label, and it's an important label because you're going to want to understand another label that I'm going to talk about in the next video. If you've been labeled a doormat during your generation or codependent in that generation, or now because of the language that I've put into the lexicon, you've heard the term overgiving by now, I'm sure. You won't find it a few years back because I hadn't brought it in yet. In the same way that I just brought in Deja Vu dating. It's original to me. I have to give myself props when I can. Nobody else does. So, if you've been given the label doormat, codependent, then I'm going to ask you to consider whether or not you might want to change that language to overgiver, because if you're an overgiver, that's something you can choose to stop doing. If you're a doormat, I don't know if you can choose to stop allowing people to step all over you. And if you're codependent, I don't know whether you'll ever do the self-development work of bringing your whole self into your physical body, which includes your 15 chakra energy field, not 7 chakras like a lot of people teach. I don't know whether you'll ever allow yourself to become energetically a whole person. So I don't know if you'll ever get out of being codependent or being in codependent relationships, because if you don't learn about your whole biospirituality and your 15 chakra energy field, yeah, you're probably going to still be codependent. But if I share with you what it means to be an overgiver, there's choice for you in that. Now, if you're an empath, if you've been trained in your family to be an empath, you've also been trained to be an overgiver. Because what does an overgiver do? An overgiver is sensitive to the empty spaces where you've been trained not to talk about the thoughts, feelings, and energy that are moving through you all the time from other people around you, because you know what? That kind of truth is not welcome. So what you're given to do instead is, okay, you can read my thoughts. You know how I feel. You know right now that I'm not feeling happy. You know that right now that I'm angry. You know that right now what I'm angry about, what I'm unhappy about. And since you know all that, what can you do with your energy, with your gifts, with your wholeness, which I don't have? What can you do to make me feel better? Can you cook me a comfort food meal? Can you surprise me? Maybe take me out to dinner? Maybe just give me a hug? Maybe invite me to a cup of tea to sit down and talk to me about how I feel. Me, the person who is upset, depressed, angry. And during that time when we have tea together, I'm not going to be at all interested in what you're feeling. I'm not going to ask you what you're thinking. I'm not going to ask you how I could help you because I don't care. So when you're an overgiver, the first thing that you're going to learn how to do in the process of eliminating deja vu dating from your life is learn how to stop overgiving and allow the people around you threaten you with rejection and abandonment if you did not take care of them. If you do not take care of them energetically. If you do not take care of them emotionally. If you did not take care of them physically. And I'm talking about food, clothing, shelter, dinners, financial support. If you did not do that for them, then the unspoken agreement that they had made with you, which you had to accept because in this situation you were most likely a child or an abused spouse, you weren't prepared yet, but you will be, to not accept the agreement to be an overgiver. I'm sure what I've just said to you is going to hit a lot of people really hard. And I know because somebody just popped up here from one of my groups who may have this issue going on. So I love how that happens. I'll edit that out. So you're going to learn that you have choice and you can stop being an overgiver. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in my boot camp. Now we'll talk about it more in the 5-day challenge because it takes a lot of getting your mind wrapped around this. It's not an easy thing to accept first time you hear it. Because then you have to go and have a look in your daily life and see what's going on. And then you get to do what I call compare and contrast. Ask what's really going on here. And then you're able to say, wait a minute, I know you spoke about that. And here it is in my daily life where I'm observing it. And I don't like it. And it doesn't make me feel good. And I think I might want to learn how to stop doing it. She says that it's possible for me to learn that. Well, I'm going to find out. The word is overgiver. And now I've defined that for you. It's part of the glossary that I'm generating for the work that I'm doing with Deja Vu Dating and my boot camp, the Reboot Camp. You'll learn more about that in both the 5-day challenge and in the webinar.